Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javanokelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me for another amazing session of the Daily African Proverbs. I am excited to be here. It's Friday, and I have a special guest, Dr. No Days Off, who is going to be here. He's going to be with us on Clubhouse and not YouTube. We had some technical challenges while we were trying to bring him on the YouTube live stream. But he's a regular attendee of our Daily African Proverbs, and he's also one of the most consistent supporters of this, amazing work that we do. So you will be hearing from him in just a moment. But today we are discussing a proverb from Chad. We are taking a virtual journey to Chad, and the proverb says, "He who is destined for power does not have to fight for it." He who is destined for power does not have to fight for it. So, as usual, we will prioritize our special guest. We'll give Dr. No Days Off a chance to, just dive a little deeper and share with us what this proverb means to him. And then after that, we will also hear from the rest of our speakers and friends. But in the meantime, I encourage you to share the link to this room with your community members, and also, clip the room, share it on Twitter. I will also be live tweeting as we continue with our conversation today. Thank you so much. And if you're watching on YouTube, please remember to leave us with your comment about what this proverb from Chad means to you. And then also remember to subscribe to the channel. And finally, remember to push the thumbs up button so that when we are live next time, YouTube can automatically notify you. So Dr. No Days Off is a legend, really. He's a US, military veteran with so many experiences in the leadership realm. And Dr. No Days Off, I just want you to, before we dive into your story, I want you to, just take a stab at this proverb and share with us what it means to you. Thank you so much.
No issue, Simon. I appreciate it. This when I hear these words from this proverb, it just basically talks to me as a person that actually stands in their own truth. My wife and a business partner of mine says it all, and in your own truth, and so basically what I mean by standing in my own truth is, if you're destined to be somewhere, or if you're destined to be somebody, then you don't have to fight for that, because that's rightfully going to be yours. Doesn't mean that you don't have to work for it. It just doesn't mean you don't have to fight for it. As long as you believe, you conceive the thought in your head and you believe it, then you put the work in, and you will achieve that. And so fighting for your power means to me that you have to go through basically you're attempting to take something that's not yours, and you want to conquer something that's not yours. So you fight the person for it, right? That's 9 times out of 10. If there's a physical fight, or a fight between two people, then what it is someone's trying to conquer something. Okay, but if you're destined to have it, then you don't have to fight for it. You're gonna have to work for it, but you just don't have to fight for it. That's what this proverb means to me.
Thank you very much, my brother, Dr. No Days Off. I appreciate that. And welcome Danny, Kay, Alexis, Zizi, and Bibi. I highly encourage you to ping in 3 to 5 people to join us for today's conversation, and also join us on stage. I would love to hear your perspectives. We are going to take a few more minutes, maybe the next 20 or so minutes, to just learn a little more from our special guest, Dr. No Days Off. I am live streaming on YouTube as well, so feel free to join me there. I'll share the link to the live stream in just a moment at the top of the room. Dr. No Days Off, you are a leader that I admire. Since we connected through this app, you're one of the most consistent people I know. For me, I don't judge people by how much you have in your bank account, but by your character, by the little things that you do. And, I have so much love and respect for you, but many times I love asking my guests, what is it, a story from their childhood that still drives them as leaders today? I want you to share that with us, a story from your childhood that, when you wake up and you're facing a major challenge, it reminds you to keep going. Share with us this story, and then there is another question I have for you in relation to a comment that you recently made on one of the videos of the Daily African Proverbs. Thank you so much.
No issues. It's amazing. But my childhood. I tell you a little bit about my childhood, a little bit about me. I was not born in a favorable environment. I know a lot of people say that. Or there's a lot of people that are like me. I had a very troubled and traumatic childhood. I'm the product of an affair between, my mother and my father. And so that pitted me between two families. And then unfortunately, my mother suffered from an addiction. So, I had a lot of issues dealing, with adult issues as a child. And my family is not a loving and supportive family. They, I had people here and there in my family, like my grandmother on my mother's side, that would, wasn't mean to me, but just would every once in a while, I look back now and say, attempt to steer me in the right direction. And then I've had people placed throughout my life that I believe was put there to help me, you know, maneuver into where I am today. And but in particular, I mean, I went through a lot. I have no, um, I have 11 sisters. 3 of them I never met. Um, one brother who died years ago. Um, but I have, as you would say, no full-blooded brothers or sisters. I don't have any on either side. They're both what in America you considered half brother, half sister. But as far as I'm concerned, there's a bloodline. I'm brother, sister. So, um, that's how I grew up. I grew up in the ghetto of Houston, Texas. I was born and raised. I was born in Fourth Ward, but I was raised in Third Ward, Houston, Texas. Most of my cousins, uncles, them were drug dealers, gang bangers. Not positive role models. The ones that I did have that was positive, they had moved away with their family, so I didn't have access to them. But I never forget something that someone told me. It's a couple things people told me, but something this one gentleman told me that I still use today, decades later. And I think this is what helped me continue. He told me 2 things. I remember 2 things he told me that helped me continue on and being successful. One thing, I'm gonna say it the nice way because we have, guys, men, when we get together, we can speak more directly with each other than when we have women around, right? So I'm going to speak. I'm going to say it the nice way, but not the way he actually told me, because it was just guys. It was just young men that he was talking to when he was telling us to. But one of the things he told me, he was a deacon in the church that I went to. I don't remember this man's name. I couldn't remember his name, and I barely remember his face. If he walked up to me today, I wouldn't know who he is. But I never forgot his words. And he said to me, he said, I want you to understand, there's 3 P's that destroy a black man, right? 3 P's that destroy a black man. He said power was 1. I'm going to say it the nice way. Women was 2. And the third one is pride, right? So we're adults. We can figure out what the other P is, but that's the way it was said to me. And I never forgot that. I never, ever, ever forgot that. He said those 3 things will destroy a black man, right? And if you look throughout history, one of those 3 has always destroyed successful black men. And I never forgot that. I kept that at the forefront of my thought process. So when it came to me, having any kind of power, my pride, I have pride, but I have positive pride. I don't have negative pride. I don't have stupid pride, as my wife, Mrs. Indio, likes to say. I don't have stupid pride. And when it came to choosing, my woman, I've been married to my wife for 28 years. I always had this motto because of what this gentleman told me, and it kept me out of a lot of trouble, as far as a young man in today, in the world I was living in the ghetto, and, even today, when I'm dealing with, women, or people, it says, I have a motto that says, if I meet a woman, and this is, I'm talking about me and my perspective, and this will help me become successful and be a husband of 28 years, and all my kids are by my wife. I have 3 kids, they're all by my wife. Nothing against anybody that's not like that. I'm just talking about me. But what kept me going as a young man was, I always said to myself, if I meet a young lady and she's willing to lay down with me as soon as she meets me, something wrong with her, or something is wrong with it. And that was because of what that gentleman taught me. And that has kept me out of a lot of trouble. Believe it or not, my brother, he was opposite of me. He would lay down with anybody. He didn't care. And my brother died of HIV when HIV first started. My brother died of HIV. He lived with it for 10 years, but he died of HIV as a result of that lifestyle, and I was complete opposite. And then another thing that this deacon told me, in the same conversation, he was talking to just us, a couple of young men. I remember we were just standing around. He was just talking to us. I think it was about 3 or 4 of us, and when he was telling us that, he said, always remember that. Always remember that. You want to be successful in anything you do in life. Remember the 3 P's, right? And I actually taught my son the same 3 P's. I taught my daughters the same thing, but in a different perspective. But I taught my daughters the same exact thing. But I know what he meant. It wasn't just set to gentrification. It was, I know what he meant, right? But the other thing he always said too, he told me, he said, the sun is still going to rise and fall whether you like it or not. So what are you going to do about that day? Because if you sit back and just and you worry about a day that you cannot control anymore because it's in the past, then you're wasting the next day. He said the sun is still going to rise and fall whether you like it or not. So get up and do something, right? And I never forgot that either. And I think those 2 things was when with that deacon. Like I said, I don't remember his name. I cannot remember his name. I remember his face. I just remember standing in a parking lot of the church and him telling me this. And I don't know if he knows, of course, he might be passed on by now. But that those words I never forgot. And I'll be 50 next month. I'll be 50 in March, and I never forgot those words. And I even passed those words down to my to my children. I will pass those words down to my grandchildren. They're a little young right now. I have 3 young grandchildren. Less two and under. But I've also passed those words down to young men and young ladies that I have spoken with via, the different platforms that I use to help develop them. And so, I don't even think he realized how powerful those words were. So, if anything out of my childhood, and there's more, but if anything, that's one that I can say that really set me on the right path. And that was I was a young teenager at the time.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. No Days Off. If you're just joining us, my name is Simon Javan Okello, and my special guest is Dr. No Days Off, who is an amazing, leader. He's a combat and disabled veteran of the United States Army and also Navy. And currently he's a speaker, he's a trainer, and he does leadership and organizational development. But a couple of weeks ago, Dr. No Days Off, you also shared with me your work in Somalia, when you are in the military. I don't know if you're free to speak to that a little bit, because I feel that some of the ways that you lead, some of the ways that you are, was also inspired by the experiences you had when you're in the military. And today's proverb speaks about leadership, and the military teaches people about leadership in a very unique way. I wanted you to speak about your experience in Somalia at that time, just briefly, and then I want us to just go from there into how can people build how can people build a positive psychology in their mind so that people can thrive, and this is as a result of the question that you brought up when you're commenting on one of our previous YouTube videos. And again, Dr. No Days Off is someone that I end up engaging with him a lot because of how much he puts into these proverbs that we discuss. He shows up in this room and then he goes to the YouTube channel, watches the video, and then makes very in-depth comments. So if you watch most of our videos, you will see some of his comments that are literally a subject of another 1-hour discussion. So share with us, your experiences in the military that you're free to share, but particularly in Somalia, because I feel that you are also in a movie that if you want to speak to, you can also share with us. Thank you so much.
I'll tell you a little bit about that. And for those of you who don't really know me, like Simon says, I've been following Daily African Proverbs for about since the end of last year. I'm an executive. I'm an executive leadership SMG subject matter guy for my company TMTSI. It's a leadership development and coaching company, executive coaching company here in the United States. And I've also co-founded a leadership development and executive coaching company in Namibia, Africa, too, with my business partner, Dr. Rona Shapena. And then I have my national independent insurance agency that I founded here in the United States. And then I'm a leadership advisor for my wife's company, Visions Unfolding, which is a custom heirloom and gift company. And I'm also a professor. I teach on the collegiate level too. So I do a little bit of a lot, I would say. That's why they call me Dr. No Days Off. One of the reasons why they call me that, because they seem like I never take a day off. And like Simon in preluded to, I spent 12 years total in the military. I served in the Army and in the Navy. I did both. I did 2 services. And unfortunately, my military physical disabilities wouldn't allow me to continue. I had multiple surgeries to repair, and just different parts of my shoulders and back and everything. But I'm my family is 6 generations military. and my all my children have served, and I still have one that's still serving. She's actually stationed in Germany right now. Um, and she's part of she's a combat engineer. So her unit was activated as a result of what's going on, with Russia and everything right now. And she came home to have her baby last year. So now my wife and we're caring for our 4-month-old grandson full time, her first child, and so she's back serving. So it's something that my family's been doing for generations. But you know what's amazing about that is I didn't want any of my kids in the military at all. Um, but in one of when I was in the Army, I spent a lot of years in combat, a lot of years in combat. And one of my combat situations was Somalia. A lot of people don't know and probably don't remember. This was years ago. But there's a movie out. It's an older movie. It's called Black Hawk Down, right? If you've ever seen that movie, I was not one of the soldiers on the ground, unfortunately, because um, but I was actually. I'll tell the story real quick. Well, if you saw the movie, it pretty much happened the way that they say it did. Um, but it was more soldiers there than just those soldiers. The issue was that the it, it was more, and it involves leadership. It was more of pride and power. One person wanted to prove to another that they can get the job done, and it cost a lot of people their lives. Basically, the person the general that was over command, he went before he was supposed to, before he had backup, and we were his backup. And unfortunately, I watched the whole thing from the air above. What they don't show you in the movie is that there were C-130s and there were helicopters and a lot of that was just hovering above, watching this all take place. We could have saved a lot of people's lives if they just would have let us land, but they wouldn't let us land. Um, and what's crazy about that is Simon talks about leadership when it comes to that, because the military does teach you leadership in a unique way. I have led soldiers in combat. I've carried soldiers back in caskets from combat. Um, so it that type of leadership, you embrace leadership a little different than a lot of other people. But at the same time, I transferred that leadership over into business, and because with me, I, in leadership in the military, I cared for people's complete lives. I had to know everything about everybody that I was in charge of, right? Everything. I had to know everything about them. I mean, what they knew about themselves, I had to know about them. And then they had to trust me, right? Because of the situations that we would get ourselves involved with. Um, and so being a leader, before, I'll tell you this quick story that a lot of people don't know, because just the movie didn't show a lot of this. But while we was hovering up above, watching all this take place, watching fellow brothers, go down, um, we made a decision. I got with my soldiers and I was like, listen, they're trying to get us to turn back, you know, um, and and you see what's going on, you see how bad it is, like that. I want to land this plane. We want them to land this helicopter. We was in a helicopter. We want them to land this helicopter, and he said, you don't have to get out when we land, but I'm getting out. I'm going. And it's one of those things that, like, I always say you have to be comfortable in a situation like that as a leader. You have to be comfortable to give somebody a command that that's going to lead them to their death. But before I would give a command to somebody I knew that would lead them to their death, I would go first. And that's the kind of leader I am. I will go first, you know. And then if you want to follow me, I'm not going to let you go. I'm not going to let you go first. I'm going to go first. And if you want to come, you can come, but know that we're in it together. Um, And I still have that kind of leadership today, and I run my company the same way. Anybody that I work with, it's the same concept with me. Um, Unfortunately, they wouldn't let us land. I mean, they trust me. It was uglier than what you think. It got really messy, but it's sad. We went in there after to do a little bit of cleanup, but other than that, we weren't a part of the major skirmish in there. So, and I've seen a lot of devastation, and unfortunately, but I'll say fortunately, that helped me with my leadership perspective and my worldview perspective that I have today. So that's a little bit about that. And I will answer any question somebody want to ask me. If I can answer the question, I will answer the question for you. But like Simon and I was talking about, the positive psychology. Um, to develop a positive psychology, right? To develop a positive psychology in your mindset, with your mind, to help you succeed, is understand exactly what this proverb is saying to you. He who is destined for power, right? And I have a saying that I always let people know. When you're born for success, but you can get programmed and conditioned for failure, right? I was born to succeed. I don't know. I always say this to this day, and I still believe this to this day. And I never forgot the feeling since I can remember as a kid. I don't remember a lot of stuff from my childhood. It was very traumatic, but I don't remember a lot of stuff from it. But I do remember. It's just like I never forget that something in me always told me, "You're going to be better than what you are today. You're going to be better. You're going to be, a leader of leaders." I don't know why, but ever since I was a kid, I've always known that, right? So that, and so I look back now and say, well, that's my destiny, right? I was programmed for that. But along the way, my environment, people, family around me and people was programming and conditioning me to fail. And now, um, I felt like I had to fight, but then at the same time, I didn't have to fight because I already knew what was going to take place. I knew I was different from everybody else in my family. I knew I was. And it was crazy because if Mrs. Dr. Node's was on here, she'll tell you she met my family 5 years after we were married. And we were stationed in Germany together when we met and got married in Denmark. But she met them 5 years later, and I used to tell her stories, and she never believed me about stories about my family. And then she happened to we were back around my family home, and my uncle had invited me over for a celebration, and I normally wouldn't go, but he wanted to meet my wife, and this is the good uncle, this is the uncle that moved away with his family and everything. Well, when my wife saw me with the rest of my family, she came up to me and she was like, "You don't fit. You don't act like any of them." I was like, "I know." And she like, I don't understand. If you didn't look like your mother, I would not believe that this is your family. And so I always knew I was different. But I still had to work. I still had to rebuild myself because I got programmed and conditioned to fail. You know, um, I've been married to Mrs. Dr. Node's for 28 plus years, and she'll tell you I put her through a lot of stuff because I did not know just how traumatic um, my family had messed with my, the way I grew up in my family had messed with my head. I realized at an age of 30 something years old that I suffered from PTSD from the way I grew up. I suffered from PTSD in the military, but I actually went through PTSD twice, right? But how do you develop that positive psychology? Is you have to purposely develop your self leadership. Mine started when I met my mentor in my 30s. Okay, that's when my journey went on, and he told me, he put a book in my hand, and well, he didn't put it in my hand, he made me go get it. And he said, read this book, apply the principles, or I can't help you. And my positive psychology mindset started from that point on. You have to reprogram yourself and program yourself to think positively. I still do it to this day. If you can see my desk in front of me, It's my affirmations, my dream board, my goals, everything on my phone, on my computer, everything about me. I carry certain books. When I leave my office, I have a book with me that I carry because in case I get some downtime, I can actually, pick it up and read. But I have to practice it because why? Because the society inundates us with negativity. You won't see me supporting nothing against it. I don't do politics, right? But you won't see me supporting Black Lives Matter, or you won't see me supporting, anti-war rallies or anything like that. I don't do that because if I'm supporting something that's fighting against something else, then I'm encouraging the fight, right? If you invite me to a peace rally like Mother Teresa, I'll show up, right? If you invite me to a unity rally to where everybody of all cultures is getting together and we're having fun, I'll show up. But I'm not going to go to a protest because I'm fighting against something that doesn't work in my positive psychology, right? It doesn't work in my positive psychology because I know because to be positive, I have to focus on the good, not the negative, right? And it's very difficult to do, but you have to train yourself to do it, right? You have to train yourself to focus on the positive on a consistent basis. Just like you, I'm inundated every day with negativity. I'm all over social media. Those of you who follow me and stuff, you see me on social media. I get inundated with the same negativity you do. But you know what I do? I ignore it. I delete it, right? I have people that attack me. I don't even engage them because they're working to work against my positive psychology. I'm not oblivious to what's going on, but I just don't engage in the negativity, if that makes sense, right? I'm not calling different groups negative or anything like that. I'm just saying I don't engage in it. My family is so blended, right? I'm a Black man. I'm African American. Born and raised here in America. My family, Houston, from Texas, migrated over from Louisiana. So, and I'm pretty sure my ancestry, I'm in the process of doing my ancestry traits right now, but, but my family is so blended that I don't see a particular color. Now, I do help, I do focus to help Black people and women, but to me, I'm like Simon. I look at the person, not the color of the person or the gentrification of the person. I look at the person. And that's who I work with, right? And that's how I develop my positive psychology, and I still do it to this day, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. No Days Off. And thank you to all of you who are with us on Clubhouse as well as YouTube. I deeply appreciate it. This is the Daily African Proverbs, and my special guest is Dr. No Days Off, who is a U.S. Army and Navy combat veteran. He shared with us, just a glimpse of part of his life in the military in relation to today's proverb, where we are speaking about, this is a proverb from Chad. It says, he who is destined for power does not have to fight for it. And then he also shared with us how you can develop a positive psychology in your mind. So I want us to hear from all the speakers on stage. I already turned off hand raising. I do that at 6:30 a.m. PST, and I also see amazing people that made this space become what it is. I see Tess, I see Johnny. Thank you for being here. Latanja, thank you for being here. And let's hear from Bibi. Bibi, do you have any comments to Dr. No Days Off, and what are your perspectives on this proverb?
Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Dr. No Days Off. And I just want to say thank you for your service. And my husband also did serve in the military the Army for 25 years. And yes, and that's why I'm here in Clarksville, because he retired at Fort Campbell. So we're still here.
Oh, my oldest daughter lives in Clarksville right now.
Oh, sweet. That's amazing. We're just off base, like 15 minutes away. But yeah, your stories are similar. It's like I feel like the army may have done something with that, because it's like, because I know you guys talk talk and do a lot of leadership in the military, and with meeting different people and stuff, you learn a lot of things, and you gain so much wisdom from the outside world, and it really puts you out of your comfort zone, and that's where growth comes from. So it's like, I thank you guys all so much for all you guys have done to better your lives and the lives of your families and children and future generations. So it's amazing. I love listening to you, because it's like every time I'm listening to you, it's like I'm listening to one of the brothers, because it's just amazing what comes out after serving for so many years. Well, I haven't served, but I listen to my husband and his friends and his colleagues and stuff like that. So it's amazing. It's beautiful, and I'm an avid reader too. So it's like I'm always about the future, like um, bettering yourselves and leaving the next generation better than how you came into it. So kudos. And as far as it comes to the proverbs, um, I can't go anywhere but reference all the heroes in the Bible. Like David was destined for greatness, and no matter um what Saul tried to do to him, to destroy him, um nothing could have stopped the fact that he was going to be a king one day. So that's all I can reference to, because it's true. Like once you're destined for something, only two things can prevent you being killed young before your time, or um not having someone to lead you to that direction. But other than that, if you're alive and someone knows that vision or is there to help you get there, nothing in this world will ever stop you from getting there, just like death as well. No one can avoid death. So that's all my take. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Hey,
baby. Yes, go
Simon,
ahead.
real quick, BB, thank you. But I will let you know too that you are serving because your husband is a veteran, and whether you serve with him while he was in or even now, you're still serving. So thank you for serving. And the next time me and Mrs. Dr. Noday's office in Clarksville, I'll hit you up uh, so we can have lunch.
That would be great. And thank you. Yes. Thank we got married right before he got out. So, but yes, thank you so much. Yes, that would be lovely. It's like Clarksville is very dry. That's why I do most of my stuffs at home. I would love to host you guys and cook for you guys some African food if you're interested.
Always.
Oh man, now I want to be there too. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
about to.
yeah, small world, Simon, because my daughter she was in the military station in Clarksville. Her and her husband and my two grandkids live in Clarksville, Tennessee right now.
That's
That's
wonderful.
amazing. That is awesome. And I have little ones too, so
Well, I think the village is expanding. So, this is amazing, BB. And thank you, Dr. Nodezov, for being here. Let's hear from Zizi. Zizi, share with us your thoughts on, everything you've heard and today's proverb. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simon. It's always a pleasure to be here. Well, I guess what I'm saying is I came, you know, from a culture that had, sort of at the beginning a fear mindset instead of an unconditional love mindset. So everything was don't do this, otherwise you'll be punished by this. And even God was seen as an angry, punishing God who will put you in hell for whatever you do. So I finally succeeded in adopting a more open mindset of unconditional love. So, in a way, that ties into leadership and power. Because I think there is a soft power where you influence people without doing anything that affects directly what they're doing, except being who you are and being authentic in what you represent, and people know you are speaking from your heart, not to get votes or not to do anything, but just be who you are. So I finally, with a lot of deep work inside of me going within, I succeeded in not, going with this fear mindset, the punishing mindset, but with this unconditional love, where I firmly believe that we're all made of this energy that's everlasting and doesn't really, uh, we can't destroy it or increase it. So I was able to, just live with this love and being an embodiment of love by just being who I am. So I found that people can really follow you as a leader without having to struggle or having to fight for it, by just being who you are in whatever field you want to be in. So I have experienced this personally, and I feel that if we all just be who we are authentically, we can be leaders in whatever we're good at. We don't have to be a political leader, but there is leadership in other instances as well. So that's my perspective. Thank you, Simon.
You're most welcome, Zizi. Thank you so much. I love your perspectives. Let's hear from Latanja. Latanja, please share with us your thoughts. And Dr. Node is off. Please stay with us. I want you to, wrap our conversation by giving us your closing remarks and also sharing how everyone who is here can support you. Thank you so much, Latanja.
Thank you very much, Simon, for always being available for us all. I like the proverb where it says, "He who is destined for power does not have to fight for it." I think oftentimes in war, we understand there's a battle for position, prestige, and power. Let those that are in the struggle understand the concept of birthright. Our ancestors have provided us with a blueprint of mobility, ability, and stability, tools to sustain the good fight. He who is destined for power does not have to fight for it. It reminds us of everything that is given to you is grounded in God's favor, gifted in God's divine timing to where it isn't wavered. Because of gratitude, we're blessed to enjoy the fruits of our labor. To now we can nourish our souls with grace to savor. And I have a couple of questions in terms of one particular statement where you mentioned the things that destroys the Black man. I would say to debunk all three of those if you just learn to swallow. And my question for you is in terms of how can young adults benefit from the leadership traits or benefit from leadership traits? And what do you want your grandchild to call you? Thank you so much.
That's a good question. That's something that I help young people do all the time, is learn that they have the leadership traits that a lot of us look for. It's already inside of us. We just have to learn how to develop it, and we have to learn how to see it for ourselves. One of the things that I show them is how hold up a mirror and look at yourself and tell me what you see. Not tell me, don't tell me what you think everybody else sees. Tell me what you see. And then, because we have to get back into having our own voice for ourselves. I have a leadership approach I call it 3XP leadership that I research and develop, and it involves the leader being three people. The P3, which is the professional person, that's the person that you show to, in a work or school environment. P2 would be a person that you show, to your friends and family. And the P1, that's the core person. That's the person that looks back at you in the mirror. That P1 needs to be the person that's pulling the strings of the P2 and the P3, not the other way around, right? And so what I work to do is get them to see that they have the inner strength in the core to build and become who they want to become, and they have those leadership traits in them. And I get them to figure out. I don't tell them what the leadership traits are. I get them to figure out, for themselves what they believe it is, and then for them to work on that moving forward. And you asked me, what do I want my grandchildren to call me? Like as far as my name?
Yes, grandpa, papa, what?
They call me, I am Papa. I am Papa.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, I am Papa.
That's beautiful, Papa. Okay, Samara, share with us your perspectives, please.
Hi, Simon. I kind of like Dr. No Days Off was talking. I just want to sort of briefly one line on the conflict in Somalia at the time, just to put a bit of context into it. It was around the time the Cold War was happening, and at the end of the Cold War, sorry, between Russia and America. So just the perspective on the ground. Sorry, can you hear me?
Oh
Yes, we
yeah,
can.
I hear you, but if you would move closer to your mic.
Can you hear me better now? Is that
Yes,
better?
yes.
Okay, great, fantastic. So that was towards the end of the Cold War, where obviously certain powers at play had stake in certain areas. When the Americans came to Mogadishu, what happened was, I'll go back to what afterwards had happened, but what happened was all the people who were in the city, the particular clan that lived in Mogadishu, mainly the Hawiye clan, and all the other factions that were fighting against each other, laid down their weapons when they saw the Americans coming. And 1 minute they were one person against another, and they were united to get the Americans out. And they all joined forces just to get the Americans out. And then when obviously Black Hawk Down happened, and the plane is still, like, fragments of the plane are still there. And if you go to Mogadishu, what's grown over it now is cactus. So if you go there, you'll see cactus, and you see shrapnel and bits of the plane sticking out, and people are just getting on with their daily lives. And now I digress. I'll go back to the quote today, because I know you've got many more people on stage. He who is destined for power does not have to fight for it. This makes me think of when village elders are selected in Somali culture. They're selected not because they have fought for the position or bribery or whatever had happened. Till this day, traditional village elders are selected. There's a selection process where they're selected on the knowledge they know. At present, we have a drought, which is called abar in Somali, which is this present moment where it's quite dry. So the people who are knowledgeable in how to get over drought, know where the wells are, lead people properly, and sort of understand natural remedies also, and how to sort of overcome certain things are selected. Also, their way in how they know how to fight off anyone who is sort of attacking either the people, or also there's a place in Somaliland, there's a mountain where different clans settle their sort of disputes via village elders. So the village elders would take people to the mountain who have got a dispute either over land or over something, and there'd be a they'll sit in a circle, and it's usually done under a tree, and there's a conversation on settle the dispute there and then, and people go off without in their own way, so not to have bloodshed. These village elders are also part of the Somaliland government, and they are like the UK has the House of Lords, and they have the normal politicians at the bottom. So they refer to the House of Lords if there are certain things that they want to discuss, or certain things that they can't overcome, or votes or things that are overturned. So in the same way, the Somaliland Republic has maintained peace till this day after, obviously, the state collapse of Somalia. Somaliland opted out. It was in a Senegambia sort of Senegal and Gambia were one country, so Somaliland did the same thing with Somalia, and then came out of the union when the civil war erupted, ending in 1991 in Somaliland. So what people have is those village elders are part of the government, which is, I believe, what has maintained peace and stability in the region. So I am Samara, and I'm done speaking. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samara, for your perspectives and for also just painting even a more, a more in-depth picture of, of the story that Dr. Nodezov was sharing in regards to Somalia. Now let's go to Alexis. Alexis, what are your perspectives?
Habari za asubuhi. Good morning, everyone. And first, I want to thank Dr. No Days Off for sharing his story. And also, I would like to thank you for your service, Dr. No Days Off. And just for sharing with us how you were able to persevere and, excuse me, and attain greatness in your life. My perspective of the proverb today is he who is destined for power does not have to fight for it. I first thought of the sun and the moon and the stars when I thought of this proverb. I said, the sun doesn't fight for its power. It just shines its light and it helps us to see in the daytime. Same thing with the moon and the stars at night. The moon is not bickering with the stars about who's going to light up the sky at night. They both lead in their own different positions. So my perspective is that if if we are allowing ourselves to be our authentic selves and let that sun and let your light shine just like the sun in the daytime and letting your light shine just like the moon and the stars at night, you will not have to fight to lead because you're being your true authentic self. I'm Lexi and I'm going to land my plane there.
Thank you very much, Lexi. I appreciate your perspectives as well. Joseph, I'll pass you the microphone so that you can also share your thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Simon. And Dr. Node, thank you for sharing your career with us and your leadership skills. It's such a wonderful sharing the stage with you. And I always look forward to hear what your advice is always. And today I can see that you are actually born leader, and a leader is someone who was gifted to be a leader. So thank you very much. Simon, just back to our daily proverbs today. For me, when I look at these proverbs, I look at again how we have to look at the perceptive and how we look at things as it's done in the world today. I'm just going to take a very good example of our previous president of America, Barack Obama. You know, Barack Obama, for me, was destined to be a leader, and he didn't have to fight or to prove to anybody that I can be a leader. I had an opportunity to meet him again in South Africa when he visited South Africa. Come up on stage. It's like he knows you already by just the fact that he's gonna look at you and point a finger at you. You believe like, or you think like he already know you, but it's just his way of his characters that it's destined for him to have that power, and he doesn't have to fight for it. He didn't fight for anything, so he was really born a leader. And once you are born a leader, you will always have that charisma within you. You will always have that courage within you to know that when I speak to someone, I must be able to speak to someone. And telling the truth is also something that each and every leader, when you don't have to fight for anything, but if you can just tell the truth, or you can tell the things that people want to hear, then they will believe in your power, or they will believe in how good you are as a leader. So for me, that's how I look at the Proverbs today. And I was trying to relate and see with who, as a leader that I've met, that I can be able to say he didn't have to fight for it, but because he was born with. And I'll compare today my daily Proverbs with Barack Obama, because he was one of that person gifted, and he deserved my applause for that matter. I thank you.
Thank you, my brother Joseph. Johnny, share with us your perspectives, please.
Thank you, Brother Simon. Peace to you. And thank you, Dr. No Days Off, for sharing your testimony and for your service. I appreciate it. When I see the proverb today, he who is destined for power does not have to fight for it. Um, I always think of things from multiple angles and multiple sides. And so I thought of originally in disagreement with the ancestors of a lot of the cases of people who did have to fight. But then I thought about the story, ironically, of my brother who just shared before me in the Bible of Joseph. And the story of Joseph was one that in which he was sold into slavery by his brother. He was sold into bondage. And Joseph, amongst being sold into bondage, was in prison for 2 years. And being in prison, he had met a butler and a baker, and he had interpreted their dreams. And he had asked the baker, to not forget about him once his dream came to pass. And the baker did forget about him. And it came upon a time in which the king needed somebody to interpret his dream, in which then at that moment, at that perfect time, Joseph was remembered. And Joseph came and he interpreted a dream for the king. And I think about that story because a lot of times we hear the quote of, what thou meant for evil, God meant for good. And that was the story in which the context of that quote was given, because Joseph's brothers, amongst feeling envy and jealousy towards him, sold him into a bondage, which ultimately blessed him and made him the ruler of all of that land. And so that was the situation in which a person that wasn't destined for power, didn't have to fight for it. But I also think about all of the many other stories, but I'll land my plane there. And I just look forward to hearing from everybody else's interpretation.
Thank you, my brother Johnny. I really love what you just shared with us. Tess, how are you, and what are your perspectives on today's proverb?
Greetings and peace to the room. Hopefully everybody is having. So when I think about he who is destined for power does not have to fight for it, I immediately think about my observations so far, in my few years on this planet Earth. When you really look at leadership and power, it's not what it's actually intended to be, because most of the people who are in the leadership positions and the people who are in power actually are not destined to have that power, and you see them manipulating and going about it the wrong way and actually forcing people to follow them for them to feel that they are powerful, when in actuality leadership is about serving. This is quote that I learned from my high school. It used to be my alma mater, and it said to serve is to reign. And leadership, even when you look at the animal kingdom, let's say for instance the wolf, which most people like to reference when they're talking about being alpha and being leaders and all of this stuff. The alphas actually mean mother, the person who takes care of the rest of the group. And when you observe them, actually, when they're like walking, Most of the leaders are not even at the front. At the front, you have the weakly, the sickling, the elderly, and then you have some leaders in the middle and some leaders at the back, making sure that nobody is left behind. And so when I look at all of that and just reflecting on how our society is, most of the people who are hungry for power and are in those powerful positions are actually just very good at manipulating people and using fear to cause people to actually follow them. But the ones who are destined for power are most of the times quieter when it comes to how they lead, and even their power is more felt in the heart and not in the mind. So that's my take when it comes to those who are destined for power. Really don't have to fight for it and push and shove and manipulate. They just serve, they just lead, and people follow them. And that's all I have to say for today. Thank you so much for the time and attention.
Oh, you're most welcome, Tess. Thank you so much for the amazing perspectives that you shared. Let's come back to Dr. Node's off in a moment here, but I want to let everybody on Clubhouse know that this is a good time for you to, particularly follow the African Father in America Club and also nominate 3 to 5 people to join the club. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and push the thumbs up button so that when we are live, Monday to Friday next week, you are able to catch this amazing conversation. Dr. Node is off. What is it that you heard from our friends who are joining us on stage that you want to, share in closing, and also share with us how everybody can support your work and can continue staying in touch with you?
Thank you. I appreciate everybody's comments, and the perspectives that the speakers had on stage is astounding, and it's good because that is something that we have to learn as people, that that of what we bring to the table, what everybody can bring to the table. I always, when I'm talking to people, yes, I am a executive, I am a practitioner scholar of executive leadership. I'm highly educated in leadership. I have much experience and I have research and I've done it all, but that doesn't mean that I cannot still learn. And so, I appreciate, this learning platform that you've set up, Simon, for everybody to share and to grow with one another. And whether or not we agree with each other's perspective, it doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is that we're learning from each other's perspective, and that's what we need to focus on, and that's what we should focus on. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate everybody, thanking me for my service. It's something that I enjoy. I enjoy doing. Um, I will clarify too. I think it was Samara that was talking about that to put some clarity on the Somali incident. I always let people know that we were there to, as quote unquote they say when we was doing our missions with NATO, keep the peace. Uh, but when it happened the way it happened, our job was just to get our soldiers out, and that's what we wanted to do. It was not to go down and fight people. No, we wanted to just get people out and let's go home. And unfortunately, that it wasn't allowed. Um, and then there was something else that a lot of people did not know too, and that the movie did not show, that there was a mixture of soldiers that were of different color. There were white and black soldiers there on the ground, and our black soldiers didn't experience what a lot of the white soldiers experienced, and nobody knew that, right? But anyways, so but I appreciate everyone. I appreciate the proverb and learning once again, about my ancestral traits, my African ancestral traits, which is one of the reasons why I'm in this club, and I come in and I listen, when I can. I have a very tight schedule, so some days I miss, but I do go back, like Simon say, and listen and watch it on YouTube, and then I put my comments in. Um, you know, I would let everyone know too that to support me and what I do. Really, the main way you can support me and what I do is continue doing what you're doing and putting out that positive psychology. Turning around and helping the younger generation understand that they don't have to be what it is society, the negative side of society is pushing them to be. They don't have to accept these labels that they're giving them. I always let people know, when they're talking about African American or a disadvantage, and they call women and African Americans or Black people disadvantaged groups and all this. We're not disadvantaged. We're not disadvantaged at all. And so those words to me helps tear down our positive psychology and make us feel like that we have to fight. We don't have to fight because we're predestined already to have what it is we're supposed to have, right? But certain groups, and certain people want to think a certain way about ourselves. We need to stop that, right? I do what I do. I'm in several industries, but what I do is to help people with that. I will say this: my insurance agency, the League of Extraordinary People, or LOEP Insurance Agency, we are an insurance agency that promotes life and health insurance. We're independent. We don't answer to anybody. I have personally built relationships with all the insurance companies that we represent, and we do it nationally, and we even do internationally too. But what we are doing is we're working to help stay-at-home moms, especially after COVID. Stay-at-home moms, people that want to change careers and learn entrepreneurship or learn salesmanship or marketing. The insurance industry is still one of the top industries in the United States today, where people are retiring and living out the rest of their life, financially satisfied because they helped a lot of people. And our agents and financial advisors do it from home, 100% from home, right? We don't require them to come in our office or make 1,000 phone calls. We don't do that kind of stuff, right? Everything we do is on a positive nature. So, and then lastly, I'm not going to spill all the beans yet, and Mrs. Dr. Odie is off to make sure that I don't do it. But we are launching this year the best leadership conference that you're going to ever see. It is going to be tailored to Black people and women, right? But it's open to everybody. But it's going to be the most practical leadership conference that you're going to ever be a part of. And this is the beginning. This is the first one. It's not the first and the last. This is the first one. It's coming. We're putting it together right now. And when we say practical leadership conference, when you attend this conference, everything you learn, you will be able to walk out the door. All right. This one's going to be virtual, 100% virtual. Our future ones are going to be virtual and in person, but this one's going to be virtual. But you're going to be able to walk out the door, get up and take everything that you learn and literally apply it. Whether you're attempting to start a business, whether you're attempting to advance in your career, or you just simply want to, better your family. You're going to be able to take everything in this leadership conference and apply it, and you're going to see it work. And that's why we say this is going to be the most practical leadership conference that you'll ever attend. It's coming, okay? Just follow me on social media. You can follow me here in Clubhouse. One of my partners is big in Clubhouse. I'm not going to reveal yet who that is. But you can follow me here in Clubhouse. You can follow me on any social media channels. My handle is Dr. No Days Off. You will find me. If you put in Dr. No Days Off, you will find me. I promise you that. You can go to my company website. My company is, if you put in Google, League of Extraordinary People Insurance Agency, that'll pull up. You can put in TMT, TMT Services International. That would come up. My company in Namibia is Royal Ambassadors Consulting. You put that in, that would come up too. Or my wife, Mrs. Dr. Node's off. You can find it through there. Her company is Visions Unfolding. She's launching her website here soon too. But you can find me. Follow me, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and so you can be one of those people that take the first movers advantage. We're gonna have VIP access to this conference. The VIP access is going to be amazing, really amazing. And this conference is not going to be a conference to where it breaks your bank, right? It's going to be it's going to be an economical conference, and you're going to walk away with millions of dollars worth of information that you can apply to your life, your business, your career right off the bat. Okay, thank you. I appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nodezov. I've also never thanked you for your service, to the U.S. military. Thank you. And also for the time you created today, the support you've been giving me with the daily African proverbs. It's much, much appreciated. And to everybody else who has been here with us on YouTube and also on Clubhouse, thank you. I will see you Monday to Friday next week. Tomorrow and Sunday, I will not be doing the daily African proverbs, but I will be involved with a few other things. For example, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time in the Africa Day Club, we have an event that is happening. And the event is actually very interesting and important. It talks about, do you have to be Black in order for you to be African? That's the conversation we will be having in the Africa Day Club, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then we have the African Languages Week that is going on today. They have several events. In fact, there's an event going on there around language education in Africa. At 8 a.m. they'll have language erasure in South Africa. So check out what's going on in the Africa Day Club currently. And then, just take good care of yourselves. I'll see you all on Monday. Thank you so much.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.